I know you have taken some pretty big risks recently to stand up for your principles, and putting your eggs in the YouTube basket is really kind of a frightening thing. And it is paying off for you in some regard. I know that they demonetize you if you have anybody that is slightly to the right of Bernie Sanders. I know they flag you immediately.
Well, it's pretty crazy what they're doing. And, this is a really, really interesting debate that we've discussed a little bit before, where it's starting to push my libertarian side, which is the core of what I am. It's pushing my libertarian side to its limits because, look, these are private companies, and in my estimation, they can do what they want to do. Nobody's forcing me to be on YouTube. I'm voluntarily using their service. They provide when they're doing it right, and people are getting your videos and they're staying subscribed and all those things. They're providing an incredible service and all of those things. So I say that primarily, but the next part is, have these tech companies become so awesomely powerful that we actually can't even grapple with how much information they control, how much power they have, the amount of connections that they have with the government at this point. These are all things that we have to think about. And, there is a seemingly really big push I'm seeing on the right now from conservatives to ask for government intervention. Don't. On the big tech.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
Well, so look, I get why in the short term people think this will be good, because it does seem that conservatives are getting banned more. But you have to always take, a couple steps down the road with these things. And the point is, well, if you hand over the power to the government, first off, the idea that the government could run tech companies or regulate tech companies. When was the last time you were on a government website? It looks like AOL in 1994. So that's just like the easy version of it. But the real issue, of course, is that, so let's say you hand over the power to the government to regulate or to be in charge of these tech companies or break them up or whatever it is. Well, the government now, a Trump, conservative presidency might be friendly to conservatives right now. But what happens if the Democratic Socialists get in power and now they've got the tech companies? We know they have the tech companies, and now they've got the government too. How quickly do you think they'll be banning all of the people that they deem to be, Nazis and white supremacists and the rest of it? So that's where, I know you know this, but that, of course, is where you really have to be leery of using power until the absolute last second.
First of all, regulation, when Mark Zuckerberg comes out and is begging for regulation, it's in his best interest at Facebook to have regulation. And the reason why is because they will come to those people and those companies and say, how do we regulate? And they will write the laws, which will take all competition and crush any possible contender to their throne. On top of that, if we get them and we go to them and say, how do we regulate you? And they get their regulation, it will not only crush all competition, but on top of it, it will then make the Bill of Rights absolutely worthless, because these are companies that are private, and so they do have a right. But if they're the backbone and because of regulation, that's really all our choice, they can ban any voice and you have nowhere to go, because the Bill of Rights does not apply to them. It will apply to the government.
So this is the catch-22, and I think for people like us that put liberty before everything else, I think this is the tricky spot that we're in. Because look, Glenn, you've built an incredible company using digital properties, right? Like, I'm on YouTube, we do podcasts and all sorts of things. Now, the simple truth is, you probably have some extra protections because of the way I think you have a technology arm of the Blaze, so some of your stuff is proprietary. But which is actually probably the way all creators should be going ultimately, and I've been researching a little bit into that. But the point is that right this moment, as we're talking, technically there's nothing that I can do to stop YouTube from just shutting me off and iTunes kicking me out and the rest of it.
Correct.
And it's like that is a truly awesome power that they have, especially as we know that all of this seems to be getting ramped up to 2020. So it's putting all of us, especially the liberty-minded folks, in a really weird position. And what I'm afraid of is I'm seeing too many conservatives, chomp at the bit here and say, you know, regulate,
It's the wrong way
and
to go.
it will just be used against us. Now, that being said, you know, creating the competition. So for people like us that believe in competition, right? We believe in human ingenuity. We believe we can solve problems, and I would always rather the free market solve things. I mean, there's still a major issue here, which is that the amount of money and resources to solve these problems is so massive, and you know, there's blockchain technologies and all sorts of interesting things that are still sort of years away from being mass adopted. So we're just at a unique point, and you know, hopefully those of us that are doing good work and trying to get some truth out there, you know, hopefully it's not being turned against us just yet, but you just don't know. You really don't.